Live, baby. We are live. Bob, how are you?
I'm well, Joe. How are you?
I'm great, man.
Excellent.
I'm pumped for this one. Mainly because we're gonna get to it, but you're probably one of the smartest people in the world. You want to know why?
Why is that, Joe?
I mean, aside from your actual probably book smarts and everything else,
Sure.
you're one of the only few people that doesn't screw around with Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
yeah.
can't even be like, hey, maybe you guys know Bob from the group.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I
genius.
jumped ship like I forget. It was a few years ago.
Oh, so there
As-
was a time you were on.
there was a time when I was, and then there was a time when I wasn't, and that's
Well,
now.
again, you're like I said, smartest man in the world. So everybody that's jumping on live, windshield time today. I'm excited with Bob Camire. We're gonna give it a second here, let people get on. My understanding with Facebook and StreamYard is it really does help if you punch that like key, that heart key, that whatever key. Let us know you're tuning in with us. If you add a comment into the on Facebook, it doesn't tell me who it is, but that's fine. But we're happy, I'm sure, to answer any questions. But like we do with everybody, if you don't mind, Bob, for the folks that don't know you,
Sure.
who's this Bob guy? Tell us about tell us anything you want to tell us about
Sure.
Bob.
Yeah. So I'll kind of back up to the beginning of my start with home improvement. I started working with thermo spas back in early 2000s and worked in the call center, scheduled appointments, kind of played around the call center for a little while as a call center manager, kind of learned that in-home sales from that side of the business. Became a sales rep for that organization for a period of time, and then worked as an in-home sales rep for them. My territory was Southern California, so it was a pretty big, pretty big market.
Yeah.
I covered anywhere from I could have a lead in San Diego in the morning and LA in the afternoon or evening. Yeah, it was pretty wild.
I've learned a little bit about those guys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
how
a
they
little
do
bit.
that. That's cool.
Circle now, right?
Yeah.
Jacuzzi now owns
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Spent spent some time there, and then in 2009, 10, somewhere around there, I started in with Renewal by Anderson on the East Coast. The Southern Connecticut branch was kind of a small startup branch, and started there. I was employee number 8 on the payroll when we started that. And 9 years later, it expanded from Southern Connecticut out to the Midwest over that time period. And we went from, zero revenue on day one back in Connecticut with 8 employees to 500 employees and 120 something $1 million in revenue. And I wore a lot of hats throughout my tenure there. Canvassing rep, manager, a general manager, a sales rep, a sales manager, a VP of sales, led operations very briefly. Just wherever the business needed me at the time is where I went, and I got a world-class education in how to grow a home improvement company like RBA. And it was an incredible ride. And I was so lucky and fortunate to meet the folks that I ended up partnering with to start Bath Experts in late August or late July, I suppose, of 2019. So started Bath Experts in 2019 with some friends and colleagues from Renewal by Anderson, and we were couldn't be more excited to get out on our own and do this thing for ourselves. And that was about August 2019, and we from August to December there was 4 of us basically and an installer, and we did like $500,000 in business, and we were pumped and ready to go and so excited to head into 2020 as a startup home improvement company. And then
Yeah.
and then everything went sideways pretty fast. January and February were great. I mean, they were record months for us. Not hard to break records when you've only been in business for a few months. Awesome. But we had so much momentum and so much excitement and enthusiasm going into March, and I can remember it so clearly. That things started really getting weird and going sideways. The decisions we had to make and what we had to do to protect the business and protect our people and keep people safe and healthy and all of that. And it was incredibly challenging certainly for any business. But for folks as new as we were, we had just gotten a little bit of traction, a little bit of momentum, and kind of we felt, stopped in our tracks a little bit. But very quickly we learned that there was going to be a way forward, right? By May or June, things really started to loosen up a little bit where you could, for us anyway, get back into the hole.
Where were you guys located? Where was this? What state?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. By May and June, we were back in the home. We had done the virtual thing all through, most of March and April and some of May. And I know how that went too. It was real struggle, but we got some business, and we were able to kind of put everything together as best we could, kind of cobble it together until we got back in the home. And once we were back in the home, we realized that this might be this might help the business long term. And no one knew that was going to result in the bubble that it did at that moment. We didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know that we were walking into a huge boom.
Yeah.
Certainly challenging for lots of other industries. I mean, if we had decided to open a travel agency, I don't think we would have been as excited.
Talk about perception.
Yeah. So, yeah, just like we drew it up. But no, as things started to get back to normal, we finished 2020, our first full year, at about 4 million in business. And then 21, we took it to 12 million. In 22, we took it to 21 million. And 23, we finished at 30.
Holy, I didn't know that. I mean, well, maybe I did.
Wow. There was obviously a lot of growth, and there was expansion there too. So it wasn't like it was just the same location. But
still, I think it's even probably more challenging with multiple locations, right?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag for sure. There's definitely challenges there. But you definitely have more opportunity to grow. So you take both sides of it. So
now you're technical. I think I'd put that in. I hope that's right. Is vice president of sales for Bath Experts.
That's right.
As well as one of the founding members. How many total? I know you said multiple kind of locations and areas. How many total salespeople?
Right now, we're hovering right now between 30 and 35. Call it.
And did somewhere around, you said 30 million in 23?
Yep.
Are you guys, if you don't mind me asking, you can say, hey, that's not, it's like CIA guys do. They're like, I can't talk about that. Do you guys have a goal revenue-wise, net revenue that you care to share for 2024, or what's that look like? Still growing, or still just trying to get control?
Still growing. We're really hoping the plan we put together was 35 million. A little bit more conservative on the growth side, but not too. I mean, still decent growth. But we really want to focus on the green fields that we started up in 22 and in 23 that are still kind of up and coming. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And obviously the name gives it away, but One Day Bath, correct?
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
And I'm more or less just filling out the group so they know exactly kind of what you do. But let's back up to, if you don't mind, a renewal. I always like to ask, especially when someone's come up through different products, what's your favorite product? And you can be honest if it's not bath still. Like if you were selling in the home day to day, what's been your favorite product?
So I think from a straight up product perspective, it's really hard to compete with the renewal product, right? But from a strategic and impactful, like the amount of impact you can have on somebody's life.
Oh, true.
From a product perspective, it doesn't get, I don't think, any more rewarding or beneficial or more of an impact than a bath remodel does. People love their windows and then they put blinds over them for the next 10 years. Right. And that's great. And they're important and they need to be done. No question about that. But I never got, and like I said, I was in that industry for 9 years. I never got letters and emails and thank yous about how it's changed their life and able to provide them with independence and safety and security and all that.
That's awesome.
Ability to age in their home in place. So yeah, so from that perspective, for me, it's you find a good partner like Jacuzzi and they make a phenomenal product and you just go do your thing.
That's awesome. All right, I want to deep dive outside of you being the smartest guy because of the Facebook thing. I really do believe you're probably one of the brightest people I've ever met in this space. You love, what's that?
It's very kind.
I'm serious, man. I mean that. One of the things that we were speaking together a few weeks ago at a summit together, and you were talking about accountability with sales, and I thought this was awesome. And I want to touch on one thing because you didn't deep dive on it, which is fine, but here we're going to deep dive a little bit on it. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You had mentioned, you were kind of like, maybe this has been your entire career or more with just bath experts, probably bath experts, because you're kind of in control there, but like of it all. But you were kind of always wrestling on what's a lead, right? Or what gets determined as a quote unquote issued lead, is it whether a demo, like what metric do you use? I want to talk about that. Where did you finally kind of drew the line in the sand with your team? How did you go about doing that?
So there's lots of ways that you can slice this up, and it really just depends on what is important to you as an organization and what you value in terms of your metrics. But for us, I liked the idea of, look, we paid for the lead. We had to pay to get it. We issued it. So if it was issued to you, then it counts. So whether that's no demo, not home, one party, credit decline, whatever it may be, I think that the biggest challenge that I've had with other organizations, and I'm not saying that the way we're doing it the right way, this is the way that we do it, because my feedback and fear with, well, if it doesn't demo, it doesn't count. To me, the demo is so subjective. If I give sales rep A this appointment and I give sales rep B the exact same appointment, I promise you, one can find a way to get it demoed and the other will find a way to not get it demoed. So from a subjective, so it's very subjective. So from an objective way to measure your results, I feel better to look at it as issued and then watch demo rates as a separate metric.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how was it taken? Was that a change or no?
It wasn't a huge change. No, it wasn't a huge change.
Okay. So there was no
The
issue
only
there.
thing, yeah, no, it wasn't a huge change. So
What were you about to say?
it was the only thing that didn't, quote unquote, didn't count in a previous CRM that we were using was not homes. Like they had that setting like clicked on kind of out of the box when we got the set up the CRM, and I was like, yeah, that's fine for the time being. And then like once we really got rolling with it, I was like, nah. And the reporting was clunky because you had to take those out, and then the call center was always like, but my numbers don't match anymore. So I was like, you know what? Just let's make this as easy as possible, right? So everything counts.
The other thing that I love about what you do, I think it's awesome, and is what you've done with Google Suite and how you kind of run a lot of your business off of that platform of apps and things.
Yeah, it's a huge part of our business for sure. We live in Google Drive, and I've got more Google tabs open here on multiple windows than, I'm ashamed. I have like tab shame about how much I have open at any given time.
The first step to recovery is acknowledging or awareness.
Yeah, admitting that I have a problem. Yeah, I get it.
Sorry,
yeah.
How does that tie? Do you still use? I never asked you. Do you still use some kind of CRM or no?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We use Lead Perfection.
Oh, okay.
But what we use this, G Suite for is mostly Google Sheets on the sales side. But if we're specifically talking about the sales side of this business, right?
Yeah. No, who cares about anything else?
That's right.
Only owners do.
That's right. So, yeah, the Google Sheets are used to run the sales journals, which new hires are responsible and accountable for maintaining, and the PIP sheets that reps that go on to PIPs are responsible for maintaining throughout their time on a PIP.
That's fairly new. What you said the other day, your PIP program past year?
Yeah, past year-ish, and the way that we're using it now with in conjunction with Rilla and scorecards and in Google Forms and all of that is maybe less than 6 months old, but it is. I think we're heading in the right direction. I like to think it's not hurting anything.
That's awesome. So let's dive in on Rilla.
Mm-hmm.
Really, any technology that is, there's other options too. So I don't want anybody to think, but I know that specifically you guys are using Rilla.
Yep.
And how are you guys using it, if you don't mind, just for people that don't know?
Sure. So all the sales reps use the app to record their appointments, and the audio that we capture, we use it strictly for coaching and helping train sales reps to get better at what they do. And we don't use it as like an accountability tool when we're at an install and the customer swears up and down that they ordered this color and sales rep says, no, we ordered that color. And like, we don't use it for any of that.
Let's go back to the tape.
Let's go to the tape.
Go to the tape.
We don't use it for that. We use it specifically just to help coach and train our salespeople to make sure that they're doing and saying the right things in the home. At the end of the day, we feel it's going to provide a much better experience to customers too. Because if we not only are we obviously catching and hearing things that we can offer coaching on the sales side, but I don't know if any of sales reps you've encountered and coached over your time may have made some outside the box suggestions or promises about the way something could be installed or would work. Yeah. And it's like, maybe we can describe it a little more accurately in the future. Right. So
yeah,
that's also been a big part of improving, I think, customer experience as well.
Did you tell me, I'm going to ask you, and I think you told me this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you tell me you guys are leveraging it in like a rehash environment too?
That's like, yeah, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I thought that was like, whoa, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's a way. In a perfect world, yeah, with all the resources and that we, at our disposal, that would be a great way to do it. I think that there's huge potential there for that. We just don't have the resources to really make that happen in a meaningful way just yet. But that's certainly an idea in the bullpen, so to speak.
Yeah. That's I want people get a little. I know you don't. You're probably one of the least egocentric, egotistical sales guy I've ever met, which is awesome about you. But I wanted to make sure that, I wasn't saying, oh yeah, this is a riddle me this. I came up with this idea, but I think that's awesome. Do you guys do anything with the revenue recovery, rehash, whatever you want to call it now?
Yes and no. Like if we're okay-ish at capturing really low-hanging fruit, but we're not robust and working a full rehash program and system. And we've got a guy that calls behind. And again, if there's some low-hanging fruit there, we can nab it, but that's still a huge opportunity for us. I still do struggle with the idea of rehash, because theoretically, right, and where I'm going with this, if you do everything the way you're supposed to do it, there really shouldn't be much rehash potential.
Yeah.
And rehash exists because people don't always do things the way they're supposed to, and so forth. That's the reality of it. But it can be a challenge to have a foot in both worlds.
Yeah. It's inside sales teams, in my experience, if it's like a true inside sales team that is doing the follow-up, it's a great feedback loop to a sales manager. Hey, just want to let you know that Bob's not showing the window again. What? Yeah. Or whatever, right? And someone you go, are you serious? Bob doesn't even pull in the window anymore, and that happens. I hate to say it. So, as much as it is trying to close the deal.
Yeah. And we're, we can also hear that too with Rilla, right? We can hear whether or not they're doing a full demo of the product or inspection or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So you don't, like, I think it's what you don't get obviously is feedback from Rilla, right? You're not getting customer feedback. So that part of that component of it, a good rehash caller still provides a lot of value.
Yeah.
To get the homeowners' thoughts and opinions of the experience with the appointment and the rep.
Now, you guys are in multiple states.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any are any of those, are you guys have any issues, or what are the rules around single party or dual party?
Fortunately, with the 3 states we operate in are all single party.
Okay.
So we don't really run into any issue there. And again, we're not using it in a nefarious or like, and we've got all the, you can, and I'm sure, I know, like you said, Rilla's not the only game in town, but Rilla specifically has ways to redact any and all sensitive information. So, if you're half the intro is typically bleeped out, because during the warm up, right, you exchange and say things like, oh, are you from, Chicago? Oh, okay. So anything that could identify the person, so that's place names, street addresses, numbers, all that gets redacted out. So it's pretty innocuous. Like there's nothing there that's.
I didn't even think about that side of it. Holy
Yeah.
Camolian.
Yeah, because like you're recording like a finance app, right?
Yeah,
You know,
technically.
names, phone numbers, addresses, all that, but it's all redacted.
So because you're a single party state, I mean, you guys don't even address, you just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, legally you're fine. And
Yeah.
like you said, you're not doing it in any. Okay, I was just curious if there was any benefit to actually making it known just for like almost like a call for quality assurance purposes. We do this, that it would maybe take people's
Yeah.
walls down. Like
There's definitely I think this space is going to change and evolve a lot, and the laws will change, and you'll just have to be willing and able to adapt to whatever it may be. And like
Yeah.
2-party states right now, you have to do that. So I think there's some, ways of embedding that information in like a confirmation email or text or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Like we record you both our, inbound and outbound phone calls and in-home presentations for training and coaching purposes. And that's usually enough.
That's awesome. I love it. Hey, one of the things that came up actually, and again, I know you're not on Facebook, but it was in the group. We were talking about ride-alongs in general, evaluations, field evaluations, and our good friend, mutual friend, Brian Gottlieb commented about, the biggest challenge today is that sales managers are bogged down in admin and blah, 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 blah. And I actually commented, I said, great leadway to what I want to ask Bob about on Friday. So make sure you join. You've done something about this. Now, I don't know if that was your reasoning behind it, but you've done something to kind of alleviate this administrative burden to actual performing or performance-based sales managers, guys that are really designed to do what they're supposed to do, which is coach and grow and develop reps. You want to talk? Can you talk about that? What you've done with the whole org from that standpoint?
Yeah, I knew that when it came time for me to hire layers of managers under, that would report to me, that I wanted to be really thoughtful and mindful of how I architected that. So, because as I served as a sales manager for a long time, and Brian's exactly right. Like you got all the intention in the world at 9 a.m. that your day is going to be focused on helping this rep with this issue, coaching, helping whatever it may be. And by 10 a.m. you're done. You're toast. Your schedule's out the window. You've got a hot customer. You've got this guy screwed up his paperwork. The finance company needs stipulations that it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll have to wait to get on that ride along tomorrow. Right. So I just kind of looked at, I wrote down all of the things that I would be that currently sales managers or a sales manager would do. And it's, I basically took all of the activities and separated them into, is this more operational, or like your word was administrative, or is it performance based? So I divided my team into sales ops and sales performance. So effectively, I have a director of sales, director of sales performance, and under him, he has 2 sales performance training coaches. And that's one side of our sales organization. And the other side is my sales operations manager. And under her, she has 2 sales ops folks, basically. And she and her team handle everything: change orders, finance stips, paperwork challenges, whatever it may be. If it isn't about coaching and making a sales rep better, she handles it, her and her team. And then the other side, sales performance, is as much as humanly possible, these folks are just focused on ride-alongs, one-on-ones, reviews, coaching and excuse me, coaching and training the reps. So that's it. I tried to separate those two worlds as much as possible.
It's genius. When you were telling me about that a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I love it. I have a question about it because I'm sure people would ask. Which other thing I always appreciated about you and kind of a lot of guys that you started all with, you guys are open books, willing to share. Do you as the sales ops manager directly then coach the rep if it's like, say it's a paperwork issue, like they're not doing your contract correctly? Do they coach the rep directly, or do they give that feedback to the sales manager who then
little bit of both? So like,
okay.
If they're seeing that this new group out of training is having a hard time with X, they'll let the training manager know that and like, hey, maybe we need to spend a little bit more time here. I'll take care of it, but just so you know, like that's where we're struggling in the moment. But she can coach and train any of the reps on any of the administrative stuff in Leap or in Fluix or anything like that.
Awesome. That's so technically there is still a dotted line, if you will, reporting wise to the sales ops managers as much as performance.
Yeah,
if you will.
For sure. So a sales rep in our organization should understand that they kind of report to two people. And and either of those folks, whether it's a performance issue or an operational issue, if any of them have a problem, they're weighted equally.
That's good. I like it. It's like two parents. They teach you slightly different things in life. You need them. It's nice. It's nice to have both of them.
Yeah.
Oh man, there was with your ride along. So back to I bounce all over. By the way, there's no with doing the in-home Rilla with Rilla. Are your sales managers are they in the field in terms of in the home with the reps at much at all, or is it solely?
So not as much, right? Because they can do a couple of ride alongs. If they have a day where it's like, all right, we're just focused on rides today. There's no training, there's no workshop, there's no meeting, and they just want to do a ride, they can knock out a couple of rides from the comfort of their kitchen table. And those are what we would call observational ride-alongs, right? So I've kind of broken rides into two groups, observational and demonstrational. So in theory, they should be doing a little bit of both. And it doesn't work out perfectly all the time. You still have because the reps are still calling them with questions from the home, right? Of what do I do in this scenario, that scenario? So, it's hard to do a ride along when your phone's ringing, even if it's, even if it's virtual, right? You still got to pause the recording and, hey, what's up? And then so it can take some time, but ride-alongs are currently observational, are all through Rilla, because I feel like that's a much better barometer for actual performance and actually observing what a rep does on an everyday basis versus the in-person ride-along. And I know you don't get like body language, and all of that, which I totally understand. But boy, you get a lot.
Yeah.
You get an awful lot. And what I have found is that when a rep isn't closing, it's not because of, boy, you were a little too much leaning in and too excited during the price presentation. You should have been a bit more relaxed. It's because they didn't do the price presentation, and you can hear that on a recording, right? So, So the idea in a perfect world would be a performance manager would be able to listen to a call or two of a sales rep who might be struggling, right? And identify a couple of places where there's areas of opportunity for them, and then turn around and say, great, we're going to go on the next call together. I'm going to run it. This is a demonstrational ride, and I'm going to focus on those two or three things that I mentioned. right? So pay attention and watch the price presentation or the demo or whatever it might be.
That's awesome. So the sales manager takes them and then pitches.
That's the idea. Yeah. It's again, that's the ideal scenario. Doesn't always work that way, but that's how it could work.
And by the way, because I'm the one that's probably most vocal with you about the body language stuff, is I think the other thing with a lot of things, I don't think anything is an either or. I think it's an as well. If you have the ability to have the technology, because none of it's cheap, right? And
No.
I know we have some smaller owners and companies on here, and you know, people watch, oh, well, if we only had Rilla, if we only had this, and like, okay, well, you know, some of the older things still do work. You know, it's a nice context, because the other thing that I like that you guys do that I wanted to talk about is you don't just take the data from a observation or a demonstration and just, you know, here's your feedback and it's done. You guys quantitatively sort through the data to kind of grade, right?
Yeah. So there's when they do a ride along, there's a Google form that they fill out. I feel like this whole thing is sponsored by Google, but there's a Google form that they would fill out. And the nice thing about a Google form is that it does send all of that data to a spreadsheet where it can just archive forever. So you can go back and then, you know, search for the rep that you might want to search for, and it will pull up all of their rides. You just filter out that rep that you're looking for. It'll pull up all the rides that have been done and what the scores have been on each and every step and their cumulative score and their notes and all of that. So you can see over time, man, we did a ride 2.5 months ago with you and we're coaching you on the exact same thing again. What's going on? Or, man, 2.5 months ago, we coached you on this and now you're nailing it, you know?
Yeah.
So it is nice to be able to have this historical record that you don't have to do anything to maintain. The forms just do it for you, right? So you don't have to be like, I'm going to go save this piece of paper somewhere and keep it organized and all of that. It does it for you.
Yeah, that's the cool side of like tech these days, man. I don't know what Google Suite costs, but it's probably not outrageous, and it has so many.
Yeah.
You know, instead of pen and paper, and then that's awesome. Plus, you have documentation. Do you try to have a time frame from when you ride with a rep and offer, like, whether it's you know, through Rilla, whatever, you provide the feedback to the rep, and then is there a time frame to, like, you know, show improvement that you follow back up and say, hey, I want this, you know, by the next time I do it, you know, or you go every 10 to 14 days with a rep that's to see if they're progressing?
Sure. It's one of my managers has an expression. He's like, oh man, it's closest alligator to their boat every day. Right. So it's like, you're just constantly fighting off the thing that needs the most attention or the person that needs the most help. So we have, in Google Sheets, we have this thing called a coaching dashboard where we keep track of when was the last time a rep had an interaction with their manager. And it's just like color coded. So they go in and click they click in a cell and it brings up today's calendar and they punch in today's date, drop down menu. They select their name as the manager and then they put in the rep's name. Right. And then it'll spit out a little, like if it's today, then that's green. And then like in a week from now, that'll turn yellow. And in 2 weeks from now, it'll turn red. Like, oh man, we got to get back with this person and check in and see what's up.
Wow, that's got to be awesome for you to then see.
Yeah, it's nice. I can go in and look visually in a moment and see who have we let go. And like some of those folks in red might be your top performers. We haven't touched them in 32 days because they're fine. And they don't need the, you know what I mean? Like they don't need or want the additional coaching outside of the regular workshops and trainings and all that. They just let them go do their thing. So yeah, that's the it's a nice way to look at it. It does require daily maintenance and updating though. Like it doesn't just do itself. Like it, it's definitely a lift for my sales managers that do it, but they do a good job keeping up as best they can. But the job, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's exactly like what we've done forever, but now you've got to fill out a bunch of spreadsheets on top of it. So, but I think they would tell you that if once they're organized with it and they come into a routine, it does end up making their life a bunch easier because they can just see what the data is showing really quickly.
Yeah, I mean it's not, you're not just having them do it to do it.
Yeah,
it's money ball, in my opinion, at its finest, which is helpful. And routines, I think, are critical to make anything consistent and better. So all of that being said, which is awesome, what do you guys attribute in your own environment to a rep failing in your company? Where do you see it, as you know, when you end up parting ways? Where do you see that you're missing or they're missing in that world?
It's a good question. I don't know that there's one particularly good answer. I think that when we ultimately have to part ways with a rep, and let's say that it's not for some stupid reason, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say like it's a performance-based reason, and I think that's what you're asking.
Yep.
It's typically, in my opinion, it's a lack of belief, usually not to get too deep, but usually in themselves, like, and it's just some sort of block that doesn't allow them to consistently do what they know they can do. Because I mean, you wouldn't keep a rep around for a while if they didn't have little flashes of brilliance, right? And it's those reps that make you want to pull your hair out. And yeah, not a shot at you,
Valid.
Yeah, valid. You've had a lot of them. But the idea of seeing a rep that's like, man, every now and again they can have a great week or a great month. And you can listen to them and it's like, wow, they actually sound really good, and from our perspective on Rilla, right? But then you listen to them like, my God, what are they thinking? Like they're not even close to the process. They're giving up instantly. The moment there's a little bit of resistance, they're folding. We can coach them on that, but I don't know, man. I like to think it's not for lack of coaching on our side. Though, when that time comes, everybody, it's everybody else's fault usually.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, there's always ways to improve, maybe to try to catch it earlier if it's a bad hire, if they just don't, because you run them through what, first 50 leads?
Yeah, they basically, we break the first 50 leads down into 3 chunks, 10, 20, and 20. And, if they go for their first 10, we've got to have a real good reason to keep them around into their next 20. And they might be totally fine. They might be 0 for 10 because they had a couple credit declines, or they had one but it canceled, or they had a bunch of not homes, or whatever it may be. And I love, you have always said, evaluate to the process, not the outcome. And that's kind of what can also allow a rep to hang on even longer if they're 0 for 10. If they're 0 for 10 and we're listening to them and, man, they are right on process. They're trying hard. It's really clear that they're giving in a lot of effort, and they're on process and they're coachable. I don't care about the 0 for 10.
Yeah.
Because I know that'll turn, like, that's bound to come our way sooner than later. The number owes them. The numbers owe them, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have some, like, basically checkpoints in place to see, was this the right hire or not? And you don't want to pull the plug too quickly. You don't want to let them go on for too long. So it's always a hard call to make. but I think having these touch points makes that a little bit easier.
Yeah, you hit the earlier comment about why they don't. I mean, it sounds like from your model. I mean, if that coaching doesn't work, man, heck, I don't know what would in some cases, right? There's got to be, you got to meet us halfway here, right? You can't do it for him, but yeah, I mean, I like you're big on accountability around performance. It's not hidden, and you guys hold that standard. Because the other side of the challenge becomes, how does one bad performer, holding on to one bad performer, what does that do to the standard for the rest of the team? Because they see it.
Right. Yeah.
They know, they're like,
yeah.
Right. That's a big piece of the pie. And then, yeah, I mean, the evaluation on process, just because there are so many things that are just out of your control outcome wise, that if I have a guy or a gal that's, I mean, he or she's crushing the process, you're right. It's, there may still something usually internally, probably like what's going on in their head.
Yeah.
Is their intent wrong? Is something wrong? They smell funny. I don't know, whatever, but there's something, right? But usually it probably doesn't even get to that. If you got somebody that's on process, I'm almost like, prove the process wrong. And we never get to that point.
Yeah.
So that's, especially consistency. That's, I think, the hardest part in this business is I posted, again, I know you're not in the group, but I'll share it with you and the team. This is the idea behind this, the equation of, performance, or start from the equation. It's potential minus distraction or minus interference equals performance, right? It's, hey, I know they can do it. I've seen them do it. I've seen a great month or a great week or whatever. It's interference, and it's usually some form or fashion of fear and, whatever, something inside their head, something they think too much, all of a sudden, 1 month they're doing, what were you thinking during that month? Nothing. I was just doing it. Go back to that.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes in those examples, I'm finding less coaching is better. Because otherwise then they just start thinking in their head of every little detail that we told them to fix or that could be wrong. That's awesome. What do you see are the biggest challenges in 2024? What do you think potentially for you guys as a business, as a whole?
I think it's going to come down to lead flow. It's going to be a challenging year for that. And continuing to be able to, election years are always screwy, whether it's a lot of, fear, uncertainty, doubt, whatever it may be. But just trying to optimize, knowing that, look, leads are going to be harder and harder to come by this year for a variety of reasons. So it's, how can we make the most out of what we get and still find a way to grow a little bit.
Yeah. Are you still doing, if you don't mind me bringing up this is a while ago, you mentioned it. Are you still doing that program with the dinners? Was it
RSVP events? Yeah, that's, we started, we really want to ramp those up this year. We had an event last night over in Columbus, Ohio, and we were a little bummed by the turnout early in the evening. That only 20 people showed up. So that's 10, assume that's 10 households.
Yeah.
Right. But I guess a few more folks showed up, or maybe some of them were single, right? Just came by themselves, and we set 12 appointments. That's awesome. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Where'd that go? I mean, that's 12 appointments just out of thin air. The dinner was $1,200.
Wow.
So,
I think you had said you got it wherever, but I remember, that's financial advisors crush it. I mean,
yeah,
some of them, they built their careers launching it that way.
Yeah. And, the rubber has not met the road yet, right? We've got to go run those leads and do all that. I'd like to think out of 12 leads, some of them are going to stick, some of them are going to stay on the schedule, and a handful of them will close. I mean, that's just the the way the numbers should work out. So be a really cost effective way. If you can do a couple of those a month, makes a big difference.
Yeah. I think you're right with 2024 around leads. Plus, have you noticed any challenge with, you guys pretty much launched right before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously really have grown through. I'm assuming you were true rep 001.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So then you've grown from there. So, but I don't know if out of your team now, if you have people that were in the business prior, maybe somewhere else or with you guys, because you were talking about you were up in the Northeast. I never even asked you, why in the heck did you go to Indiana or what? It wasn't just to do this, was it? Or something?
No. Renewal by Anderson brought me from Connecticut, and my wife and I moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, actually. With Renewal, and then Renewal expanded again down to Indiana.
Gotcha. Okay.
I moved down here to do that, and that's where I was lucky enough to meet those colleagues and friends that we started Bath Experts with.
That's awesome. Okay, that's what I was wondering. I was like, wait up, that's not.
Yeah, those are not close together.
So have you, out of any of your reps? I mean, are most of them starting in the out of the 30 or so reps? Are they any veterans prior to COVID? Or are they mostly? I know it's a lot. So, but
there's a few reps that I have that. I'm trying to think if there's anybody here from pre-COVID. Not really. Yeah.
So have you seen a challenge or any dip in performance related to, maybe things have gotten a little tougher in the home than they were during the COVID time? Or
sure. Yeah, for sure. I think it was you that said, like, no one was as good as they thought they were during that time.
Yeah.
And that little bubble has burst, and that's fine. Like, there's always going to be little pockets of ups and downs, but yeah, I think that you can't be as picky anymore on the lead side. I don't know what, but like, I can remember in the call center world almost 20 years ago, like you 60 to 90 minutes. Oh, your wife's not going to be there. We're not coming. Have a nice day. We used to go through credit qualification on the phone. Hey, if you found the product that you really like, do you think there's something you pay cash or finance? Okay, if it's a cash deal, boom, we would price impression. If it's if they say finance, we would say, well, just so you know, you need an X credit score and no bankruptcies in the last 2 years. Would that be okay with? Like, it was insane.
Yeah,
it was nuts. But like, you can't do that. You're lucky you talk to these people for 30 seconds when you set an appointment.
Yeah,
like that's just the reality of it, and you can't be picky with your leads. It's a real fine balance between getting some quality control and making sure that, like, these folks have 60 to 90 minutes, that they're the homeowners, that they have a project that that we'd be compatible for, that we're not looking out to come out there to fix their garbage disposal, right?
Yeah.
And yet every day we're out there and they're like, hey, I got this garbage disposal that I need you to look at.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the nature of, people have just changed in as much as, like, people are people and they don't change over time. We've been, a species for 100,000 years, whatever. But like, our attention spans sure have changed, and our values, I think, have changed quite a bit. So it's like, focus and attention is the new commodity, and that's what makes it a real challenge.
Both the customer and the rep.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, that's I'm taking that note down because it's so true, right? As a rep, it's about staying focused on the task at hand, the person in front of you, the step you're in, the part of the wherever.
Yeah.
Not getting too ahead of your skis on it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Anything you want to share with the group? You're like I said, you're not on Facebook. You're not missing much other than the group.
How's everything going over there? Is it all good? Everybody's still getting real good?
Yeah, got a bunch of people chiming in.
Yeah.
I think there's tremendous value to always have just a different view from somebody that, like you said, you've done every job in the industry. You've been through,
I'm installed. That's the only thing which is good for everybody involved, mostly the customer.
Yeah.
That they don't let me install anything, but I've done everything else, and it's a fun business, man. It really is. It's not what I ever expected I would be doing, but who knows what you think or expect you'll be doing, right? And it's
I don't know too many people that ever maybe if they're second or third generation, but
sure.
Yeah. There's especially selling it. I think there's skills that you learn in this position of sales that they're life skills they carry on no matter what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I, it's so cool. I think the coolest thing for me is seeing the way that these opportunities, especially the sales opportunities in home improvement, can change people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's been the most special thing for me, being able to be a small part of giving somebody that opportunity and then helping them get there.
Especially when you look around, you go, man, it's just plastic in most cases, whether it's windows or whatever, right? Like, it's like, how can, sales, especially, how can you make some of the incomes I hear and see reps that are making these days? And you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Running preset appointments 3 times a day, 5, 6, maybe 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Helping people improve their biggest investment. So that's awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate your time for getting on, man. There were a lot of people asking about you, and I was like, yeah, well, of course. Why not?
I was glad to do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Bob Camire, Bath experts. It's Indiana. Where else?
Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.
Holy smokes. Okay. Yeah. But they can connect with you. I know you're on LinkedIn. I don't know if you're on there often, but yeah, definitely. I know you're always help me with anything. So I'm sure you would be willing with anybody.
Of course. Yeah. Anybody I can help, I'm happy to help because lots of folks have helped me.
Awesome. Thanks again, Bob. Everybody, thank you for jumping on. If and when you watched it live or watch it late, we got a good, we got a ton of info here. I wrote down a page of notes. So Bob, I appreciate it. And you and I will be talking soon, I'm sure.
You got it. Thanks so much.
All right.
Take care.